All right, hello and welcome to the GGG Podcast. I am Paul, and we're doing a live show. I am joined over here by Phil. Phil, are you excited for a live show?
I'm so excited for a live show. Last time I was alive and did a show, well, this is a different thing, so I don't even want to talk about it. No, hey, welcome internet. Welcome to our live vibes. This is gonna be pretty fun.
Yeah. Absolutely. We got a lot of news to get through today. Not a lot of releases, but a lot of news to go through. And then for our main topic, we got a good look at Jump Ship, which IGN covered, and we're going to be talking about that and talking about co-op games in general. So In lieu of new games that are releasing, in lieu of new games, we have a bunch of free games, all free actually, free with services. But you know, sort of free, you know, how everything on the internet is free, provided you're paying for an internet provider. So,
exactly.
Yes.
But before we get there, Paul, what have you been playing this week?
I've been, it's still been kind of the usuals, but branching out a little bit more. Still been playing a lot of Helldivers. Another group of my friends has started playing Helldivers on top of the current groups of friends that I have playing Helldivers. So that's very exciting. And, I'm excited to talk about the Helldivers update that came out this morning. So I've been doing that. My girlfriend bought me Stardew Valley, and I think we're going to start a cooperative farm of the new farm that is available from the 1.6 update. And also, if you're a fan of Stardew Valley, you can check out our mini cast where we talk about the Stardew Valley 1.6 update with our guest Jordan Michael Whidbey. So, but let's see what else.
Starting a farm, that's a big step. It's a big step.
Yeah, it is. It's a huge step. Mm-hmm. So I started my own farm, like at the basic area, just to figure the game out a little bit before, I don't want to go in like a full noob. So yeah. And then I think that's no. You know what? I've been playing some Ghost of Tsushima. It pulled me back in.
Oh, great game.
Yeah, all the Rise of Ronin content that's been coming out, and then Shogun going on, it just made me want to play Rise of Tsushima, or Ghost of Tsushima.
I feel like Rise of Ronin, everyone's opinion is like cool. It's like it's like Ghost of Tsushima we have at home, and
the graphics are made to look like it's on a PS3. Yay!
Why do they? I'm you know what? Graphics are hard. I'm just sort of like, it was such a big release. It feels strange.
Yeah. That's true. What about you?
This week I've been playing. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna check my exact time right now on Dragon's Dogma 2. 50 hours of Dragon's Dogma 2. And then a lot of Helldivers as well. Last weekend with the launch of some new weapons, I went in and I found my new favorite secondary weapon, which is the ion cannon.
Okay. Yes.
It's like a charging weapon, so it never runs out of ammo, and it just shoots one big missile, but it takes a while. So if you really time it right, you can take down a drop ship if you hit it in one of the engines.
Yeah, you're talking about the Quasar cannon?
Quasar cannon.
Yes, the Quasar cannon. Okay.
Yes. Quasar cannon.
A great name for a gun. Really.
Yeah. Just these I feel like these developers at Arrowhead, they just have like the Doom sense of the 90s, you know what I mean? Like, the Doom shotguns, and then the BFG, like they just have that vibe down on top of the Starship Trooper stuff. It's all just like really perfectly curated. But yeah, no, Dragon's Dogma's been great. I'm probably getting close to the end game now, but I've really just taken my time and like using not too many rift stones and just walking from point A to point B, since there's very limited fast travel.
Sure.
But the journey, the real reward is the pawns we meet along the way.
And the pawns you throw off a cliff.
Yeah, you gotta baptize them to make sure they're not getting all smart on you.
Perfect. All right. So so mostly Dragon's Dogma, it sounds like.
Mostly Dragon's Dogma. Probably a good 6 hours of Helldivers though, and man, what a 6 hours it was.
Yeah, and we'll get into Helldivers when we talk about the update a little bit. But let's talk about our what free games. First of all, there was a release yesterday, or maybe it didn't come out yesterday, but it was free on April Fool's Day. So Content Warning was free on Steam for $0.00, and so you could claim it, and I did, and it was very much of this kind of Lethal Company vibe type game. Have you seen anything about this?
Yes, I love the concept of this game, of like a Lethal Company that's kind of almost more built for goofs.
Sure. Yeah.
It's the bummer is if you missed out on it yesterday, it's not free anymore. But the bright side is that if you want to get it now, it's only $8.
Yeah,
$7.99.
It is a cheap game. It's easy to jump into. I really like the aesthetic because it almost, like you said, it's for goofs, and so it's kind of like, hey, we know Lethal Company is for goofs, so what if we just commit to the goof aesthetic? So I don't know. I think maybe there's some potential there. We'll see if it gets a player base from people who picked it up yesterday, who were aware. So
I kind of wonder if there's a strategy in releasing games like that. Like Lethal Company was on the cheaper side. This game is on the cheaper side. If they're releasing games that are kind of meant to be played in 4-person groups at a lower price point, so like, all right, well, we know when we sell one, we're most likely going to sell actually 4 of these games, so we can kind of lower the price of entry a little bit.
Yeah, I mean that's a great strategy for games like Party Animals and stuff like that. So, yeah. Well, right on. We'll see if that game picks up some steam, and we'll be sure to tell you about it if it does.
We'll have to give it a shot. Scooting on down, though, PlayStation Plus has 3 new games if you're on their basic PlayStation Plus membership. I believe I don't believe all of the different tiers of PlayStation Plus membership get this, but this is just what the base one gets you. Immortals of Aveum, which is a EA-released spell first-person shooter, or I guess first-person spellcaster. Looks really fun, but I think a lot of people were like, single-player campaign for $70. We'll wait on it. If you waited on it, that's great for you, because now it's free.
Yeah, it's a pretty game. I'm gonna pick it up just because it looks pretty, to be honest.
Yeah.
We'll see if it has more to it than that. We'll see. So.
Sometimes a pretty game is all you need. Like that's enough of a. What was that? 1806, like the werewolf fighting game for PlayStation 3.
Oh my goodness, The Order.
The Order.
70s, 1886, something like that.
Yeah,
that sounds right. I love
beautiful
it.
Game.
Yeah, that game is like a freaking movie, but you can also just watch it on YouTube for free. So.
After that, we have Minecraft Legends, which I feel a little too old to get, and then SKul, which is a kind of roguelike side-scrolling adventure. You play as like this little minion of some ancient evil lord defending your castle, but you have to like go out to do so. Looks really, really fun. And then scooting on down to Gamepass in 2 days. Actually, no, tomorrow. Little Gator game comes out, which is a game about a little alligator and a bunch of his friends, who are other little animals, trying to convince little Gator's older sister to play imaginary games with them. So you have to go on this like imaginary quest and do all these cool things to show her, look, we rescued the princess, or we defeated the dragon.
Yeah. That sounds adorable.
Yes.
It reminds
From what
me...
I heard, it's a...
Go ahead.
Okay, go for it.
You go first.
Fine. From what I've heard, it's a lot like Breath of the Wild style. Like, it's got glider, climbing, that type of action game, like very freeform.
Sure. Right on. Yeah, I was going to say that it reminds me of, being a kid again, where you get all these animal-themed, the Spyro the Dragon, the Crash Bandicoot, all the Nintendo games and stuff like that, or Banjo-Kazooie, there's another one. So definitely reminds me of that vibe.
Yeah. It feels very, I feel like looking at it feels very Banjo-Kazooie, like aesthetic vibe. Then Superhot, I think, is already on there, which is great. Great game. Superhot VR is also one of my favorite game experiences that I've ever had.
It's a great game. That's the slow-mo. The game moves as fast as you do.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great concept for a VR game.
Right?
Yeah.
And then notable new addition, Ark Survival Ascended. We talked about this because it just came out. Mm-hmm. It is a re-release of Ark Survival, but it is completely remade in Unreal 5, so it looks really, really good. And I think it's just to tide people over until Ark 2 comes out. But if it's free on Game Pass, hey, go enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. I love free things, and we want to make sure you know where the free things are, so you can get them. So yeah. All right. So that's it for Game Pass and PlayStation Plus for this month. Yeah, Phil?
I think that's it. Game Pass will probably have a couple more things later in the month, but sometimes they drop surprises on us, so I'll report on them as they show up.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah. Moving right on to what a lot of people are talking about on the internet today is the Helldivers 2 update that came out just this morning. It addresses a lot of things. As usual, I continue to be impressed with the frequency of updates that this game is putting out. So before this update, we got the addition of the Quasar Cannon that we were just talking about, and the heavy machine gun as 2 new weapons. And many people within the Helldivers community were speculating, if they're giving us new weapons for free, there's probably something bad coming. And oh boy, they were right. Mm-hmm. First of all, I'd like to point out that we took Malevelon Creek on April Fool's Day. Think there's something there.
Oh, snap. Oh, no. Oh, bad.
I don't know how many people realize that.
Oops.
But we are, major orders right now are on the bot front.
I'm messed up over what you just said.
Yeah, did I just blow your mind a little bit?
I heard recently that the GM or whatever of the game said that we were focusing too hard on Malevelon Creek. Mm-hmm. And that it was impeding our overall war effort.
It was for real. I was actually, a lot of my friends were like, we need to go fight on Malevelon Creek, and I'm like, that's not part of the major order. We need to follow orders, soldier. Look at this. We talk Helldivers. I haven't even gotten to the update yet.
They've created something so interesting with the campaign unfolding as we're playing. It's great.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that game gets right, and that is at the top of the list, is having the Galactic War and the community and everything. But anyway, what is going on right now in this update is we have a new enemy type, and people are already calling it the AT-AT from Star Wars. So the Imperial Walker, it looks like a chunkier version of that is now in the game for the bots. And apparently,
interesting.
They're also saying gunships for the bots have been added to the game, but I have not seen any videos of that yet, so there might be something.
I saw a video of it earlier today. The gunships are there, and they are unpleasant.
Okay, so there you go. Imperial Walkers and gunships have been added to the game. There's also been a number of gun tweaks. I know that a lot of people were very into the rail cannon, and then it got slightly nerfed, and the breaker got nerfed and stuff like that. But they seem to be really figuring out, okay, what are the guns people aren't using? How do we make those guns better? And so there's a number of guns like the Dominator that has, I believe, explosive rounds. That's been upgraded. They've also increased the level cap from level 50 to level 150, which is a huge step up.
That's a big jump. Big jump.
And there is retroactive XP. So if you have been level 50 for some time now, you've been a Skull Admiral, you might log on today and realize, oh, you're actually level 63. Because all of that XP that you've been earning, they've carried it over. So what a fantastic thing to do. A nice thing to do. So
this game, man, it's just it's wins across the board. They're kind of making the right choice at every turn.
Yeah.
Very impressed.
Yeah, so I'm very excited. I'm a little terrified of the new enemies, but I know that means that it's our upgrade next around the corner. Maybe we'll get more mechs, the mechs with autocannons on them or something like that. That would
Or
be...
like a cool little car would be great, like just to be able to get around a little faster.
Yeah.
They, I don't know if you covered this because I was looking up images of the new Walker.
Yeah.
But they're adding sandstorms and snowstorms on different planets, which is
Yes.
probably an upgrade from the Firestorm, honestly, in terms of just enjoyability for me. 'Cause I feel like the Firestorms did chase you, and that's pretty fun.
Yeah, the firestorms on Hellmire with the save the people or evacuate the people objective. Oh my god, what a pain in the butt! Like, because you just have your civilians running through these fire tornadoes. So yeah, blizzards and sandstorms. I can't wait to see some Helldivers 2 Arrakis memes and videos going around. So
Yeah. I really hope they add a Shai Hulud.
Yes, get some worms in there. All right.
Speaking of movie tie-ins, Predator Hunting Grounds is getting "quote unquote" revived. Wow,
it is. Yes. Are you excited? Are you a big Predator fan, Phil?
Well, I'm sad to say that I am. I do like Predator quite a bit.
That's okay.
I played the game. I think I only played like 3 or 4 matches. I think they had like a free weekend, so sort of my Helldivers group back in the day, we grabbed this game and all played, and it was a lot of fun. I think the thing that stopped us was like, we gotta buy this, huh?
Sure.
But the isometric multiplayer in that game is pretty excellent. So they are coming out with a PlayStation 5 and Xbox X version, or an upgrade, and along with that, some new Predators. Yeah, that sounds really, really fun.
Yeah, it sounds great. Like, this is a game, Predator Hunting Grounds. It is the official title. And this is a game that came out, I believe it came out in 2019, maybe 2020. And I think I got the PS4 version myself with a friend, and it was one of those games. I think it released at $40, so it was not a full price game because it was just a multiplayer experience, and we had a lot of fun with it. And the biggest problem with the game is that it lacked content, I think. And there has been some updates that I haven't personally played since I fell off of playing the game. But yeah, this is an upgrade to the modern console generation, and they're actually going to be adding content to the game to try and revitalize some of the player base. So it's not just now you get to play it in 4K, or maybe you could play it in 4K before, to be honest. But it's not just a PS5, Xbox Series X upgrade. It is we're putting new stuff in the game for players to come back, try to get the servers pumping a little bit again. And honestly, I think it's a great. It kind of reminds me of the what's that game we've talked about it. It was made by the Left 4 Dead developers.
Back 4 Blood.
Not Back 4 Blood.
Oh, no. It's a.
It came out before that. Is when it was that Monster Hunter game where one player Evolve. I think that's what it's
Evolve.
called.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Evolve, but of course, instead of being one player being a monster, they're just the predator. And it's really fun. It's really fun.
I think when Evolve came out, everybody was like, "Man, it'd be this cool as a Predator game," because you, in a sense, were like a predator. You were just like watching as they tried to come and hunt you, and then choosing your moment to like get someone who was isolated, or setting like little traps, or doing a roar in the wilderness.
You're just sitting in the bushes, just please split up. Oh yeah, split up.
Please.
Yeah. Chase that squirrel.
Sounds like a good.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good idea. What was that? Yeah, very excited that's getting revived. I believe this was free on PlayStation Plus. If you're like me and you always just go in and download everything, that means we should probably get the update for those of us who have it on there. Probably something similar on Xbox. I'll have to look through the libraries to make sure. But hey, what a weird time for that, but what a fun game to get revived.
Yeah, It is a weird time for it, but why not? It's April. There's not a lot of games coming out in April, so I'm all for it. All right, so let's move right along. A little bit of I guess disappointing news. So there was a
kind of discordant.
Yes. So Discord, the incredibly popular video conferencing and video calling application that mostly gamers use, but it's used for a variety of purposes. Discord, there's a report that came out from the Wall Street Journal that they are probably going to start incorporating ads within the Discord application. And I know a lot of gamers out there, especially PC gamers, are going to be pretty bummed about that. We don't know exactly the details of how they're going to specifically incorporate their advertising. So, like, I don't know if you're going to be in the middle of a video call and then, Whopper, BK, Whopper, like, starts playing for whatever reason.
I wouldn't be mad at that one. I would like that one.
So I don't know, but they're apparently looking at models like what Twitch does, and trying to determine exactly what they're going to be doing with that. So, yeah, I'm not thrilled about that. How do you feel about that, Phil?
That's a real big a kick in the heart for me, dog. No, yeah, I don't really know how Discord is going to give you ads outside of interrupting your video calls, which will have implications for this podcast. We will have to find a way around
sure
the cool Whopper ads that pop up. But I guess it probably makes the idea of people buying the Turbo subscription a lot more inviting, because I feel like they've been trying to get a way to get people to do it with a carrot, and now they're whipping out the stick of ads. In a sense, I get it. Discord has been a really useful and cool application that has been free for so long, that I understand that they might have to do it. I just wish that they didn't.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat. I know that there was a report that came out that the Discord actually laid off about 170 employees. And Ouch. They are not a humongous company. I think it's, let's see, that made up 17% of their workforce. So they're at kind of, and the reason that the Wall Street Journal is reporting on this is because they're looking at their finances, and they're just at the point where I don't think they're going to be able to sustain what they're doing financially anymore. So there needs to be something that happens. I believe that the Nitro subscription, Discord Nitro, is $9.99 a month right now, which
that's too much.
Yeah, I agree. It is too much. So if you are going to do ads, I don't know. There might be like a cheaper version. I'm not exactly sure on the pricing. I remember seeing it for $2.99 at one point, but I just haven't seen that for a long time. So if there's different price points, like I know Netflix does, Netflix with ads is like $7 or $8 now. And then Netflix without ads, but no 4K is like $16. And then Netflix no ads with 4K is $25. So if they're probably going to look at some price point like that, which is pretty unfortunate. But if they can keep like Discord, like a low subscription of like $5 or less a month, I'd be willing to do that. I think that's reasonable. And yeah, like I like Discord as an application, and I would like it to continue to be there. So I'll cough up some money. I guess.
$3 would be like the sweet spot for me. A little bit more than that, I'd be like, but $3 would be right in that zone. Understandable, but bummed.
But disappointing nonetheless.
Disappointing. Come on. Should we talk about our next story? Because I have feelings about it.
Please.
Okay. Nintendo Switch is... they were used in an April Fool's joke by IGN that they were making a VR Virtual Boy 2 console. Um, this is dumb. This is just stop doing April Fool's jokes. Nobody, we're adult. We're grown ups now.
Everybody did an April Fool's joke yesterday. Come on, what are you talking about?
Helldivers
did an April Fool's joke. They posted on their Twitter. Helldivers 2 posted on their Twitter. They were like, "We're coming out with democracy dollars. You'll be able to use democracy dollars to purchase all medals and all unlockables within the game." That's
actually really funny. Okay, IGN stopped. They peaked when they did the Harry Potter sequel show years ago. It was called it was going to be a gritty crime show about the auras. Kind of a funny little gag, but also I think that was the first one that I saw that I was like, this is immediately an April Fool's joke. This is too stupid to exist.
I'll be honest, for the first 20 seconds I was like, there's no way they're making this, so it got me for a second. And when you brought up IGN, I was thinking of the Zelda movie from 10 years ago. The trailer, oh my goodness.
Is that an April Fool's though, because now it's going to be a reality?
I think 10 years ago it was an April Fool's.
they pranked their way into existence.
But I mean, yeah, it was kind of like concept video, and so not known.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Because I think it was, it's definitely funny. I think they just had nothing else, I guess, this year, because this seems pretty. Well,
Phil, for those people who have not seen the video, could you break down a little bit what the video was?
Yeah, okay. it's someone attaching a regular Nintendo Switch to their head, and then pulling the controllers off and using those as VR controllers. And what shows is pretty cool. It's a lot of AR technology, much like the Super Mario or the Mario Kart remote control game. Have you seen that?
I believe so, yeah. Yeah. Where you can race around your house and whatnot, yeah.
Race around your house. It's got Mario jumping around on your cabinet and interacting with real things in the area. And one of the jokes was that the actual person's landlord was coming up to them and requesting money, but it was breaking it down in Tom Nook speak for Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was one of the things I saw. And I was like, "Come on, you guys, are we doing this? Do something better." I don't. Maybe it was just inoffensive enough to be good. I might have just been at work and it might have been early.
I think maybe you were just like, "Can you just show me what the new Switch is like?" And instead of this, could you just get to the announcement? We were supposed to have it. It's officially April. We were supposed to get some sort of Switch announcement in March.
True.
So. That is interesting that we've kind of crossed that line a little bit. So I still think it's probably going to come out this year, though.
I sure hope so. I'd like a sort of Christmassy surprise for this game would be, or for this console would be, heaven sent. But here's the other scary thing. It didn't seem like it was incredibly impossible for Nintendo to do this.
Yeah, it was they put money into that commercial. And to the point of we were just talking about the Zelda movie, it's kind of this might be a proof of concept for something that they could do. It won't be as ridiculous as this, but they might do it.
I've seen Nintendo pull things out of the past in a way that is less insane than a Virtual Boy 2. So just a quick disclaimer: Nintendo, don't do it. Don't do it.
Please
just give us another Switch.
Just give us another Switch. That would be great.
Oh.
And then have that Switch incorporate this. Anyway, moving on.
No!
So your favorite game of the week, Phil, has made it into our news yet again. Right. Last week we talked about Dragon's Dogma 2. But this week we're talking about it because it is selling like crazy. Are you at all surprised that it's selling so well?
Yes, because the first one was such kind of a sleeper hit.
Yeah.
But I think it was in a bit way ahead of its time, because we didn't have a Monster Hunter World before Dragon's Dogma 1. We didn't have games with kind of as intense survival and like RPG mechanics on the mainstream yet. I think now there's so many more gamers, so many new gamers that have had this vast array of experiences that this sort of like all of these features together is something that a lot more people are comfortable with.
Sure.
So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see that it got past sort of the weird DLC and performance issues that it was having, or at least it got around that in the zeitgeist. People were like, yeah, but the gameplay is really good. So
yeah, people seem to absolutely love the gameplay. Right on. Just so we have a number for you guys for reference. So Dragon's Dogma 2 has so far sold 2.5 million copies. So those are some good sales numbers. Especially
pretty nuts.
Yeah, because a lot of people did not have Dragon's Dogma 2 on their radar before the last couple of weeks. So
yeah, I was watching a video about this. Alana Pierce, who used to be IGN person, now a writer for Sony Santa Monica. She does like videos about all sorts of different stuff. She was talking about Dragon's Dogma 2 specifically, and how the freak out over the DLC was kind of like what she calls a fake gamer thing, where people who don't actually play games but just want to get on like the hype bandwagon of hating something, freak out about something. And the DLC was definitely one of those things, because she said like, oh, Capcom's been doing this. It did it in Resident Evil 4, did in Devil May Cry. Like there are actual things to be upset at inside of Dragon's Dogma 2, but the DLC was just like, this is the least offensive thing. Why are we getting all upset about this? But you know, people like their rage bait.
They do. The internet. All right. Pressing right along. So we got Halo Infinite back in controversy because they couldn't leave us alone. So as we have discussed on previous episodes of the GGG podcast, the yappening is happening. Right now, it is a Halo Infinite event, and throughout the yappening, there's going to be different like game modes that are released. You know, the store is switching over a lot, and people took to Twitter yesterday and today to really comment and kind of call out the outrageous cosmetic prices that are happening in the game. And just for a point of reference, so you have to like buy Halo Infinite currency within the game, and I believe the conversion rate to dollars is like it's 1,000 points for $10. I do believe if you have Game Pass, you get like $1 off of all of the currency. So it would be $9 technically if you already had Game Pass, but then you're paying for it in a different way through Game Pass. So we're not going to count that. So we're just going to say 1,000 points is $10. So there are many armor sets and packages that are, you know, cosmetic sets. Like to get a full set of armor, one of the most expensive items on the store, is 2,400 points, which would be $24 for one armor set. And for reference, for packages that are like in the 1,000 point range, the $10 range, that's like an accessory to a chest piece and a skin. So it's not even a full outfit for $10. It's an accessory to a chest piece. You don't get the chest piece. This is an accessory to put on a chest piece. And then you get the skin. So
why?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that honestly, you know, we've joked a lot about the yappening, but the event has actually generated some positive feedback online. And so people have been getting back in the Halo Infinite servers and playing around. And to have this happen with these outrageous microtransactions, it's just like, God, Microsoft, you're really taking the wind out of your own sails here. Like, can you just what are we doing?
Absolutely nabbing defeat out of the jaws of victory. Yeah, I think I was looking at some of the stuff on there from this Twitter post. 1,600 points, so it's $16 American for like an armor set on a game that what is the mindset here? That there's so many people playing, or that there's not enough people playing, that I think no one would notice? or that there's so many people playing that they're like, oh, people love Halo so much they're gonna get this stupid bubbly looking armor for $16.
I really don't know. I mean, I think you have to think about your player base, and when you're like a free to play game, who's going to be playing you the most it's kids. Kids are going to be playing you the most because they didn't have to get their parent to shovel out the money. And, you know, and so then again, like we've talked about, like I brought this up with Skull and Bones many weeks ago. It's just like, why are you trying to get so much money up front? It's like you're much more likely, a kid is much more likely to get their parent to buy them a $5 skin pack than something that costs $16, $20, $24, $25 for a cosmetic. It's not like a new mode or a DLC. It's a cosmetic. So it's again,
well,
go ahead.
The volume that you move a $5 skin versus a $16 skin at is like, you were going to get, I would wager to say at least like 10 times the amount of people who are like, oh yeah, $5, okay, and throw that down. Like that's one of the reasons that gas stations have their prices at like $4.39. It is the 3 before the 9 makes people think it's a lot less money, even though it's like 9 and 8/9 of a penny.
Yeah.
That's just the general mindset of how to move things like that to your basic consumer.
But Phil, 1,000 points is only $9.99. It's not $10. It's $9.99.
That's a net of 1 free penny point.
It's
man, Halo Infinite.
Yeah, it's and like, you know, we've recently complained about Diablo's cosmetics, and now like they're under the same umbrella. So I don't know if I do know, like I was raised in the Seattle area, the Bellevue area where Microsoft is, and I grew up around like lots of kids of people who worked at Microsoft. And so there's a part of me that, and I'm totally speculating, but there's a part of me that thinks it's like, you know, those kids, like their parents made a lot of money. And it's like, there's a lot of money pumping through Microsoft. Aside from Xbox, Microsoft is doing fantastic as a company overall. And, and so they just might have a different understanding of what a lot of money is. And so to them, it could be like these employees who are working there might think, yeah, why wouldn't you spend $20 on a cosmetic? That's a very reasonable thing because they're in a different economic bracket than a lot of people who are playing their game.
That's 1 cup of coffee.
Yes.
Sure, it's made with the blood of a coconut. What?
Coconuts bleed? Oh my gosh.
For rich people, they do.
Oh my god! Yeah, wow. Those genetically altered coconuts.
Can my coconut scream when I cut into it? I'd like to pay extra for it to do so.
All right.
Well, let's move along.
Yeah, let's move along. Phil, do you wanna talk this next? Some details for this next story.
Yes, Marvel 1943: Rise of Hydra has some details emerging from the game. For those of you who don't know, it is a World War II game where you are playing as a couple different characters. I'm thinking primarily Captain America and the Black Panther at the time, who is T'Challa from who most of us knows, I believe, father. Or maybe grandfather. Gosh, I don't know how far it goes back.
Could be grandfather, honestly.
Could be.
Yeah.
But it is a single-player, story-driven adventure written by Amy Hennig's writing team. Fun fact, I'm sort of buddies with, I don't know if you watch Star Trek, the newest Star Trek.
Discovery or...
Picard.
I have not seen Star Trek Picard, no.
There's a new sort of standout captain played by Todd Stashwick, who is really good friends with Amy Hennig. Okay. He helped write on Forspoken, which kind of a bummer in terms of that one didn't get the reception, but I believe he's on the writing team for this. So it just means that Amy Hennig has assembled a team of people she really jives with, and and is creating this new game, which I'm very excited for. It looks beautiful. I believe they're using what Unreal 5.6 or 5.4 for their facial animations. Very excited about this game. Paul, what are you thinking about 1943?
I mean, I think like cinematically, it looks absolutely fantastic. And like, I love Amy Hennig. She, for those who don't know, she worked on the Uncharted games. She didn't do all of them, but she worked on the earlier Uncharted games. And for me, like, those games were really where I was like, oh my God, you can have a video game be this cinematic experience where at times it almost feels like a movie. And I know she was working on another Star Wars game that ended up getting canceled that I was disappointed about. But the fact that she's working on something Marvel, it kind of gives me a little bit of hope for the Marvel gaming universe. Because really, Avengers flopped. I think, we've talked about that there was something there with Avengers, but the community hated on it so much that it was just never going to go anywhere, and it wasn't ready when it released. It's really like Insomniac really feels like the only company that's keeping Marvel games afloat right now, and I'm not counting like Marvel phone games and Marvel Snap and stuff like that.
I will give it up to Square Enix's Guardians of the Galaxy game, because that game was great.
Yes.
But I feel like it often gets forgotten, right? Like, it's one of those things where we think of Marvel games, and Avengers is the big one to come up. Spider-Man is the big one to come up.
Right.
Of course, we got the upcoming Wolverine game, but that game, I guess, didn't do well enough financially, and Square Enix is notorious for this, for being like, we thought Hitman Go would sell 7 billion copies, and it only sold 18 million, so we've considered it a flop.
But I totally agree. Yeah. Guardians deserves to be on there. I would even say that Marvel's Midnight Suns was a good game, but it is they're certainly not throwing that into any sort of gaming cinematic universe. So there's some out there, but this is interesting because they're doing it as a single player game, which I really like. It means that they can actually tell me a good story as opposed to trying to work in games as a service and microtransactions and all of this stuff. So I would have liked to have seen some in-game footage, some gameplay, but I'm sure we'll get that with time. I have a lot of faith that this will be good. So
of the cinematics they've released, there's a particularly cool scene with Captain America confronting Black Panther. It is T'Challa's grandfather. On like a bridge where they're about to do something, and it just looks so good. And I don't know, it's always, I feel like Marvel's in this place too right now where they're kind of having a lull. Like, people are feeling a little bit of oversaturation, probably a lot of oversaturation with comic book stuff. But this take seems like something we haven't seen too often, like a more in-depth version of like Captain America's adventures in World War II, as well as adding in like a former Black Panther. Really excited to see how this game turns out.
Yeah, I think kind of what you just mentioned, I think the time period is really smart because this is very isolated. It's like Black Panther exists, Captain America exists. I'm sure there'll be some bad guys, Red Skull or something in there. But it's like I'm not worrying about the universe right now. We're just doing our own story that can be contained so that we have kind of creative control. And as a writer, that's the best place to be, where you don't have to consider all of these other things. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. I also think that, them using Unreal is probably what they're going to be doing with all of their games going forward. Because we talked about how Disney bought a stake in Epic.
That's true. Yeah.
So I think that is going to be how it is they are going to be using Unreal Engine. And frankly, I haven't seen another engine to rival it. So.
Yeah, it's Unreal when it's up and chugging. Holy smokes, it looks great. Eliza P, for like such a small developer, looks so good because they used Unreal 5.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right. Last on the news. You do it, Phil. You take it.
Okay, Mech Warrior 5 Clans, baby. That's right. Mech Warrior, the game that I used to buy giant computer game boxes with the fold open case.
Yep.
You
Yep.
open it up, there's a manual about this big and a CD in it. Mech Warrior 5 Clans is back. So this is not the first of the Mech Warrior 5 games. Paul, you were telling me a little bit more about this.
Yeah.
Because there is a Mech Warrior 5
Mercenaries
game out right now. Yeah.
Yes, it came out back in 2019, I want to say. But yeah, this game looks like it's more focused on a single player story than just to be like a PvP or a PvE, mech warrior game.
I am kind of wondering because we've had a couple of like mech hits in the past couple of years. I guess most specifically, Fires of the Rubicon, was that called? It's the From Software
Armored Core.
Armored Core launched to a bigger audience than I think it's ever had. But Mech Warrior for me is like the OG that started off. It felt like you were driving a tank more of the time. Like you really had to consider the weight of your vehicle and like all the lasers and like walking through little buildings. Like it just felt like you were more a part of the world.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that and excited to see like a single player game. This might just be me, but sometimes when there's multiplayer competitive games that launch, I get a little intimidated to like fully get involved with them because I know I'm going to get such a bad feeling when someone absolutely stomps my behind.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's very, very valid. It can be very intimidating. I mean, like, I know for me, like, that's what's kept me kind of out of, like, Apex Legends. I had, when that game first launched, I had a lot of friends playing it, and I was just like, I don't know. But then, again, like, Battle Royale is just not really my genre, personally. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Are you excited for this one?
Yeah, very excited. Like, similar to you, like I've known about Mech Warrior has been around for a long time. I was telling Phil right before we went live that I actually played it at my grandfather's house on his rig, like when I was like maybe 6 years old, maybe 5, something like that, and. He really enjoyed it, but he was also a tank driver in the military, so I'm sure there was a little crossover for him there. So I'm excited for it, and like go check out. They have like a little bit of a cinematic trailer for Mech Warrior 5 Clans, and usually these games, they're not the highest budget games, and so I'm kind of surprised that there was any cinematic trailer at all. So if you're interested in mechs, you like mech games, check this out. Very much worth checking out.
Mech it out, baby.
Mech it out. All right, but
that's it for the news, huh?
That is it for the news.
We did it.
We did it almost. We got to get to our main topic before we wrap up our live show for episode 27. And the main topic today, we wanted to talk about this game that really just got shown today. It was seen at GDC, the Game Developers Conference. IGN did a spot on it. They posted on it's on the front page of IGN.com right now. But Jump Ship has been announced, and it looks pretty cool, although it does look like a lot of other games I've seen before, but it seems like it's kind of taking what a lot of games have done and kind of going to the next level with it. And
yeah.
So, like, have you seen the trailer for this game, Phil?
I have.
What are your initial impressions, just from the trailer that came out?
From the trailer, it looks like something that is going to be a lot of fun with friends, and something that will require like a pretty hefty amount of teamwork in a way that I enjoy.
Great.
I guess what's the right word is, like, it requires like more focus, like, okay, you do your job, I do my job, we get this thing done.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like a whole nother genre of games that's kind of coming out. Like, obviously, yeah, the 4-person cooperative game, I think really, it wasn't the first game to do this, but really Left 4 Dead, like, kind of made it, oh, okay, this is like a viable genre and multiplayer type. And like seeing all of these games that have come out recently and not so recently, it's for those who haven't seen the trailer of Jump Ship. It's essentially you are with a crew of your friends, so it's a 4-person game, and you have a spaceship, and you go on a mission where you have to like stay in the spaceship, make sure that it's working. You'll have like dogfights and space battles and that kind of a thing, but then you also land on planets or star bases to do your missions, and then it becomes a first-person shooter of, I'm taking out these pirates, or I'm taking out these enemy robots, or stuff like that. And so it really kind of gives the sensation for those fans of like the Star Wars The Bad Batch, or Star Wars The Clone Wars, or Star Wars Rebels, any of those animations, like that feeling of we're a squad and we're going in to do a job. And so it's a similar vibe of like Helldivers, or Sea of Thieves, or Deep Rock Galactic. Void Crew is very close to this game. I've brought up Void Crew several episodes ago, and it feels very close to this game, but this game, it like lets you land on planets and do full missions that way. And I think that's what takes it to the next level for me.
Yeah. It looks like a lot of it looks like all those things kind of put together. And this is what I love about games, is we get like iterative versions of things. So like Assassin's Creed 1 was fun. Assassin's Creed 2 was where they got it. Mm-hmm. Similarly, I kind of like it when games don't do necessarily anything super new, but they do a bunch of things that other games have done really well.
Yeah.
This looks like if it has that, I feel like my immediate attraction to it is something that I think the IGN coverage said that it was part FTL, part Void Crew, or part what are the games that they listed?
I believe they compared it to FTL and Sea of Thieves were the two.
FTL, yeah. Which FTL is a game that has a lot of like crunch and like you have to pay attention to your shield and you have to do all this. And Sea of Thieves has a lot more silliness, but a lot less like specifics, and it feels like consequence for what you do.
Sure.
So I'm excited to see this like kind of blending of those two. I'm also a big fan of sci-fi, and yeah, just this sort of like, okay, I'm really good at piloting, so I'm going to do that. You run the ship, or you run the guns. Like, this is something that, I'll talk about it again too much, but Helldivers does really well, where you equip your loadout, so you're like, I'm the glass cannon, okay? I don't have the shield backpack on, but I can do a lot of damage really quickly.
Right.
And then you have, like, your specific job that you do in each mission. So, yeah, I think we're living in a really, like, I was trying to like quantify in my head why co-op games of this type are hitting this new zone right now, and because I feel like we've had it since we first had raids in video games, right? Like,
sure, yeah,
we're all going in for one thing, and we're like, we have to use a lot of cooperation and teamwork to get it done. We've had things like Overcooked that require a lot of like timing and communication.
Sure,
and now we're blending in like action games and first-person shooters and like really intense stuff or really like, I guess, popcorn game entertainment, along with these very cooperative, very collaborative mission experiences. Because even if you're playing like a Call of Duty game, multiplayer with your friends, most of the time you're just all running around and shooting people, and then you're not really doing anything too much together.
Yeah.
So I feel like we've all kind of gotten over that a little bit.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to open up the discussion a little bit wider with, where like it just feels like all of like this specific genre of game, it almost feels like you're clocking in for like your second job kind of a thing. Not that they necessarily take up that much time like a second job, but it's kind of the format of the game. In Helldivers, I gotta go fight the Galactic War, and so it's this structure of this is a mission based, repeatable raid like structure, and or like Deep Rock Galactic is like we're going in to do a job. And so now with this game, with Jump Ship, we're actually incorporating all the different levels of that, and so it's like I love that it feels like a little bit of Left 4 Dead slapped into Void Crew. Like that is so fantastic. So like for me, like Sea of Thieves, like I like Void Crew a little bit more than I like Sea of Thieves, because like I get to have that Star Trek element of like there's the guy in the engine room screaming that there's fires all over the place and he can't jump us to hyperspace just yet, so we need to stall a little bit, and there's the guy on the guns, and like you got to switch, and you know, like I feel like Void Crew's level of the ship, you know, mechanics, they're not as severe as like FTL, but FTLs are a lot more complicated because that's pretty much all the game is those technical aspects of keeping your ship running. And so I think this is a great game, a great concept. But yeah, I think there's kind of been this trend switching away from battle royale games toward these more cooperative games. And I think the thing that really has woken up a lot of people is Helldivers. I feel like there's a younger generation of gamers who are like, I thought if you were playing online multiplayer, you had to be playing Call of Duty Warzone, or you had to be playing Fortnite. And now they're like, oh, I could play a cooperative game and not, you know, be intimidated by like running in and getting my ass beat immediately.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I do like the idea of like, you know, just having a game where you do your chat catch up with friends for sure, but then all of a sudden something happens and you're like, we have to all talk about what's going on in the game right now because the engine room is on fire and I need you to open the doors in there to suck all the fire out. It's one of my favorite things from FTL. Or like when people would get on your ship and you'd lock all the doors around them and then open the door into space. So yeah, I think, I don't know, I think co-op type of games, I find that I have less and less time for like single player games because I feel like I feel like I have less patience to just sit down and play a single player game for a long amount of time.
Yeah.
Despite what my time in Dragon's Dogma 2 says.
Sure.
But when I can kind of knock out two birds with one stone and be social and hang out with my friends, in a way that like no one's getting particularly mad because it's not like I just killed one of my friends, you know, like we're all sort of in this experience together. I hope that this is like a future that a genre that like, not even say gets more supported because I feel like we're getting a lot of support, but I just hope that we get more people who hop on and enjoy, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think the social component is so huge. Like, there's definitely times where like I'm not gaming and I won't necessarily like even feel like gaming, but if, you know, somebody messages me to get on or something, like I'm like, well, I should be social. And so that's the thing that gets me on the game. It's not that I really want to play the game. It's that this is something that I can do with my friends. It's an activity, and you know, I can be social and we can have some fun. And so I think with, you know, competitive games, you know, and obviously like, you know, people who, you know, play the battle royales and everything like that and very competitive games, like you get that too, I'm sure, with your friends. But I think there's less like there's less disdain when you lose because, you know, you're not actually getting, you know, your butt kicked by an actual person. It's just that you just lost the level and it happens. So and you did it with friends. You all lost together. So it's like, oh, all right, let's lick our wounds and get back out there. Yeah.
I feel like one of the first moments that I noticed this was a thing, or like sort of the social space of gaming, was during the pandemic and Animal Crossing, New Horizons.
Right.
What was where people would like have FaceTime, like sort of meetups or like friend hangs in Animal Crossing because we were all in lockdown.
Right.
And you just go over to someone's island and they'd be on the phone with you and like, this is my peach tree. And like, that's one of the times when I realized like, oh yeah, this is a social thing. Among Us was another game that it was like, you're chatting with your friends, you're having a good time. And occasionally you need to talk about who the murderer is. But I do think that because of the lockdown and because of like how we've all gotten a little bit more comfortable with gaming in that social setting.
Yeah.
This is probably going to be the next big trend. Because, you know, like there was the add multiplayer into every game trend.
Yes.
Add microtransactions into every game. We're in the good, sweet spot right now. But then EA is going to come along and be like, only $5.99 to play with people on your friends list. And it's going to suck. But...
Oh, my God. I hope that never happens. Yeah, I think, the social component is so huge. And so, like, maybe it's not just about being a co-op game. It's about being a social game. So, yeah, that's a big pusher. And then, like, I guess one of the things that stood out to me was in IGN's description of Jump Ship and in the own company's description of Jump Ship, because they quoted the company. They compared it to Sea of Thieves and FTL. But I feel like there are so many other games out there, and we've already named several of them, that are like very, very close to this formula. And it kind of made me think like, oh, wow, there's actually a lot of 4-player co-op games out there in the market right now. And this is another one that's coming. Do you see this as like something like a genre that could overthrow like Battle Royale or like a competitive shooter or anything like that as far as like most popular game?
I definitely see like 4-player co-op becoming a genre that will at least be like games will be categorized like on Steam pages and store pages under that. Like people will know that, oh, I like FPS games. I like 4-player co-op, like our team-based, squad-based co-op.
Right. And we already see that a little bit now in like, you know, the genre descriptions. So,
yeah. I don't know. I think we're living in a really exciting time for gaming, that we're kind of living the dream a lot of us had when we first played Xbox Live years ago.
Yes.
Where it's kind of becoming something that is a little bit more ingrained into our lives, and companies are figuring out how to play with us. I think for this one, they said they have an AI director.
Yes.
That kind of orchestrates things similar to the living director for Helldivers 2. One of the things that I really liked from one of the gameplay footages that I saw, or pieces of gameplay footage, was people on the ground doing stuff, and then the ship flying around with like enemies chasing them. So it's, man, I love the idea of like, all right, I'm coming in to do a pickup, but you got to be right here because there's people on my ass. It's gonna create so many great moments.
Well, if you can't wait, you can do that in Void Crew. So we still got to play that at some point.
That's true. We do. I got to buy it. I'm putting it on my wish list right now.
Well, when's your birthday? Well, don't say that right now.
Yeah. Let me just dox myself real quick.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for our live episode of the GGG Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. We are only 12 subscribers away from 300 subscribers on YouTube, which is very exciting, up to 288. So we would love that. But if you are also listening to the audio-only version over on Spotify or wherever you download your podcast, you can like and subscribe to us there as well. We probably will not be doing a live episode for our next week's podcast, but we hope to maybe do live episodes for specific events that are happening in gaming, particularly over the summer, where a lot of companies do their directs instead of doing E3. So be on the lookout for that. Any other little words of wisdom to share before we go, Phil?
You know, sometimes you just gotta let Malevelon Creek go. Whatever your Malevelon Creek is.
Shots fired.
Sometimes you just gotta move past it. They're gonna take something from us, Paul, now that they've given one. You've completely redefined how I think about Helldivers 2.
I don't, you know, Joel, Commander Joel, man. You just, I don't know what he's up to. So yeah, very scary. All right. Peace out, everybody. And we will see you next week.